Welcome to the study. It's Professor Hemlock here today with our Week 10 Keys to Performance. So let's kind of start breaking down what this week's going to look like for Mythic Plus. It is a Tyrannical week. Now, it is a Tyrannical week after last week. This will be the first one back since we've seen a 10% nerf to the Tyrannical effect. So this should hopefully make Tyrannical feel a little better for Arcane. As an Arcane Mage, we really suffer with longer fights, especially in Mythic Plus if you're running a similar build to me, where you're having a very, very high amount of versatility and a very low amount of mastery. Mana can start to really impact you, and on those longer fights, you won't have enough sustained mana regen to keep that mana pool going and be able to have high enough DPS. So I'm hoping this week does feel a little bit better with mana regen as a whole, since boss fights are going to start going a little bit longer, or a little bit shorter, as opposed to longer boss fights. So bursting this week is going to be in effect, so that means whenever we kill a mob, a debuff will be applied to the whole group. It stacks, and it has a duration time. After the duration falls off, the stacks reset, right? So essentially this is going to be something for us to really be aware of. As Arcane, we have extremely high AoE damage. We're going to have to be careful this week. Do not keep stacks rolling too much. It's going to be very imperative for us to do a bunch of damage, slow down near the end. Unfortunately, we are obviously going to be executing. You want to make sure that you're not having stacks go that high. Or, if you really can, this would be the best group composition this week if you can find a healer or a DPS that is a Shadow Priest, Disc Priest, or a Holy Priest. Massively important this week if you can group with a Priest. That is going to significantly improve our experience this week with bursting. Priests have the ability called Mass Dispel. Mass Dispel is essentially an AoE group dispel that will remove every stack of bursting after it's applied. So if say we've killed 6 mobs at once, we have 6 stacks of bursting, that will absolutely kill the group. All the priest has to do is have everyone group up, Mass Dispel, bam, we're saved. Or even if you just Mass Dispel 2 people or 3 people, and then heal the other 2 or 3 people up, you'll be able to survive high stacks of bursting. So having a priest in your group can be extremely, extremely effective for bursting. Otherwise, on our end, if we do not have a priest in our group, it's going to be on our responsibility as DPS to kill things unevenly or slowly and not super all at once, right? So say we kill 3 mobs, we wait for the bursting to drop off, or a healer to have us healed up enough where we can sustain and survive. Those stacks drop off, then we go back, we kill the remaining pack of mobs. That's going to be our priority this week for bursting. Now, explosive is also occurring this week, which is a simple effect that an explosive orb will randomly spawn around the area of which mobs are pulled, and that explosive has basically no health. It can die to any single ability. And as an Arcane Mage, we only have 2 abilities that are really effective at killing these little explosive orbs, which is Fire Blast and Arcane Barrage. Now, obviously, we do not want to dump Arcane Barrage into an explosive, but that occasionally has to happen. Now, to ease this process, every time you can Fire Blast, you want to be Fire Blasting. It is on a cooldown, obviously, it's an 8-second cooldown, so every 8 seconds, you should be using Fire Blast to kill one of those explosives. You can either set up a macro for Fire Blast, where it's /target explosive, and then /cast Fire Blast, so all you have to do is smash the Fire Blast button, or you can use a tab targeting system to target the explosives and kill them. Okay, either method's just fine. It depends on your comfortability with tab targeting or setting up a macro to use for the explosive killing. What's going to be really great for our group composition is someone who can kill them much better than we can, though. Since Arcane is extremely weak, having only one ability that isn't tied to our massive DPS rotation that can actively kill them, that's instant cast, that is, we really need a teammate that can assist. So teammates that are going to excel at this, especially with the week being Tyrannical, are going to be things like Affliction Warlocks. Affliction Warlocks are great at single target DPS. They're also really good at killing things by simply tab dotting, right? It's going to be an easy kill for them. as well as things like warriors, rogues, hunters, really anything that has, especially Fury Warriors right now after their buff. I have been grouping with some Fury Warriors that have been doing some frickin' DPS. So trying out a Fury Warrior or a Rogue is going to be some of really great teammates. Really, any melee that has easy to target abilities that are going to one-shot the explosives, and it's easy for them to tab target. Windwalker monks, DKs, finding a melee to be in your group is going to be pretty imperative this week. Bear tanks are especially also good at them, but generally any tank is going to have an easy time besides Paladin at killing the explosives. So finding a melee for your group is going to also be really helpful. Now, it is still Prideful this season, so something to really make sure your tanks are doing effectively, and this is going to be how we're doing our Lust this week. So with Prideful, we always want to time it around bosses. In every situation, we need to go into a boss fight with having Prideful up as much as possible. So make sure your tanks are running a route that is going to effectively utilize Prideful on that Tyrannical boss. And you want to be utilizing Bloodlust at the most difficult boss fights and as often as possible. Typically, you're going to be time warping on the very first boss, and then every 10-minute segment after that, unless there's specifically a boss that is very difficult and one that's a little bit easier. I kind of think of Theater of Pain when I think of this, where you do absolutely need to have Lust for that final boss, because it is a extremely difficult fight without Bloodlust. So you'll want to have Prideful going into that boss if you can as well, utilizing the skip method, and then having Bloodlust available for that 50% on that fight, right? So essentially, Prideful, you're going to want to just make sure you're able to lust while going into a boss fight. So that kind of summarizes our Week 10 here. Week 10 is Tyrannical, Bursting, Explosive, and Prideful. I hope everyone has a great Mythic Plus this week. Go slay some dungeons, and we will see everyone next week with another Keys to Performance.